And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money presents Perfect Transformation. If you've been following my show for the last maybe 5 segments, you know that the power of money has transited from just being singularly focused on money and money issues to the holistic person, which includes your health, your prosperity, and your spiritual groundedness. Very important. I can say this as an official senior, that to have lived your whole life oblivious to all of the dimensions of your life means that now that you are retired or planning on retired, you're probably feeling lots of trepidation, lots of challenges, and wondering, where did the time go? Well, the time did go. That's a fact. But now we're about trying to anchor you through proper teaching and development so that you will be the whole human, not just one aspect. Again, being wealthy means nothing if you've got cancer, or being sick because of improper eating, or your spiritual life is a mess. And so I brought in 2 collaborators, as I call them, 2 men that I consider the most brilliant that I know in their areas of expertise. Dr. Rick Howard, who is a naturopathic doctor, world-renowned, travels extensively talking about healthy life, healthy eating, healthy living. And then I have Elder Dennis Hatchett, who is a man of tremendous insight and wisdom, and operates in the spiritual gifts. And so, and of course you got me, and I'm an expert on money and prosperity, but I can tell you that if you live your life unbalanced, whether it be poverty unbalanced or wealth unbalanced, but it's unbalanced, then you need to listen to this show, and you need to tell your friends to do the same. Sometimes it takes some of us longer to get to these truths than others, but as my grandmother said, a Kentucky woman, honey, just keep living. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I live it. And without further ado, we're going to be talking about the brain. Yeah, we know a lot about the brain, but the brain is essential to powerhousing our entire system, our thoughts, our emotions, even our health. So we're going to be talking about the brain and life. And these are things that you need to know right now. So, good to see you again, Dr. Howard and Elder
Yes, ma'am.
Hatchett.
Good morning.
Where do we begin on this subject?
Well, I think we're still in the realm of transformation, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're going to be on that.
I don't know of too many people that are doing too much transformation without their brain, right?
I don't know any, but maybe there's an anomaly. Okay,
right?
All right.
One day we'll come back and talk about some of that, because there's this connection I will just mention, okay? Your brain has 100 million neurons, okay?
100 million.
100 million. I don't know who counted it.
I was going to say who counted it. Okay, all right.
100 million neurons. And the neurons are the way your body takes the impulses, the chemical impulses that are stimulated from things affecting your body, and processes those impulses into directive thoughts for the body.
So it's all chemistry.
It's chemistry. So that's a very interesting thing, but a dynamic that not too many people know is there is a mirror relationship between your brain and your digestive tract. There are 100 million neurons in your digestive tract, and they did not discover that until what we would call recently in science, right?
Okay.
Now,
so let me be, don't want to interrupt, but want to make sure I'm clear. There's 100 million neurons in your brain central.
Right.
And then you're saying that scientists have now discovered that there are 100 million neurons. Those are nerve cells,
right,
brain, in the stomach.
In the digestive tract.
The gut.
The small intestine and that whole thing. Now, the interesting thing about this is, and as we're talking about brain and life, the interesting thing about it is most of the chemistry that makes your brain work well is made in the digestive tract. So the serotonin, everybody knows about the serotonin to keep you from being depressed, and it's made in the digestive tract. So if
Not
I'm
in
eating,
the brain.
not in
No.
the brain, not in the brain. So there's a connection between here and here that is beyond just having a headache. It actually promotes mood, promotes how I think, what I think, whether or not I accomplish my goals can be determined in part from the neuronic connections between what's in my gut and what's in my brain. Okay, now there was an experiment. Now this is even more interesting. An experiment was done with, I think, a pig. That they took out the brains of the pig, which I don't even know.
Don't ask me.
Okay, but the pig, they kept everything else intact in the pig, but they took out the brain. Do you realize the heart continued to beat? Many other functions continued to happen, only running off the neurons in the gut. That is very interesting because it has very major implications about how we live and do things. Now, if I can get to this spiritual connection that you like to, okay, look at this. The Lord's Prayer is, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Whatsoever things are bound on earth shall be bound in heaven. So the neuronic connections that link brain and gut function is like the connection between heaven and earth. Whatsoever things are bound here and happen here will affect and control part of what happens here. And I find that fascinating because
this is more than fascinating. I told you in an earlier show, and I told you directly, my world has changed dramatically and emphatically because of this association. Transformation. What am I going to look like as a fully mature butterfly? Ooh-wee. Then I'd be a monarch.
Well, you will have
Watch
wings.
out now.
Watch out now. Watch out now. Here she comes.
You will have wings.
Yeah, I will have wings.
But
Jeez.
you know, the whole point of our programming here with transformation and perfect transformation, or maybe even perfected transformation, right, is to help people see the not only how to make those transitions between the good, the bad, the better, the best, but also what are the barriers to this transformation. Because so many people today, I find, live their life all in their brain instead of in the real world. Okay, let me.
Yeah, give me something on that.
Okay, and you have to forgive me. The whole idea, I'm still getting used to it. I'm getting seniorish myself. Right?
You're getting seniorish.
Yeah. Well, 60. You know, I used to think it was old till you
get there. Isn't that the truth? And wait till you get to 65,
well,
and
yeah,
God
you
knows
say,
you're like,
no,
what
not
happened?
Old.
Yeah,
oh
yeah. Your kids will tell you you're old.
You know, well, my kids. I know I'm starting to get old. My kids say, Dad, I don't know what to do with these young people. I was like, what? What are you talking about? As if you're old. I said, if you're old, I'm dirt, right?
Exactly.
Okay?
That's what my 32-year-old daughter says. I don't know
yeah.
what to do with these young people as well. And I look at her and I said, we won't go any further.
Right, yeah.
Payback is something, isn't it? Payback.
But if we could step back and say, you know, I was starting to say people live in their brains, and I have to explain what I mean by that. You know, all of us, the body is an excellent collector of data. Okay, it's like Google.
Okay.
Okay, Google doesn't necessarily tell you what to do with that data. They just say,
It
here
just
it is.
compile, yeah.
This is it. Yeah, it's black. They're 32. They're 68. They died yesterday. That's what it's doing. But it's our brains that process the data that our body sends and allows us to construct the world that we live in. Everybody does that, okay?
Awesome.
If I touch this table or touch this thing and my brain tells me whether it's hot or cold, my fingers just say, this is what it is, this is temperature. So we construct the life that we live in our brains. That's how our experience is driven. But now, is what I construct in my brain necessarily real life?
Whoa. So you want to talk about self-deception?
That could be a term, couldn't
That
it?
could be a term.
That could be a term. There has to be something that tells me whether something that I am envisioning is real or not real. Haven't you had it happen to you that somebody looked at you and they started frowning?
Yeah.
And they said, I thought you were going to do such and such. That's why I was frowning. But it was all in
their head. Correct.
You weren't thinking that at all. You didn't
Correct.
have that in mind. What happens there? But now, it's okay to misunderstand things occasionally. We're all going to do that. But what happens when I start living in that misunderstanding, or I have no standard to tell me what is right or what is wrong? If the standard is fungible, as they say.
Yeah, fungible. Oh, I like that term.
Right.
Fungible. What is your take on this?
I believe it's very significant because, you know, when we talk about the brain, we can talk about different facets. We can talk about your mind, your will, and your emotions all in here. When we look at it and we talk about how it's shaped, how it's formed, how it's fashioned, what drives it, what directs it, a lot of it is indicative to the choices that we've made. The choices that we made are the things that have been exposed and offered to us. How we process it all, how it all comes together collectively, it all starts and centers here. But there has to be some kind of compartmentalizing that we do.
Right.
And when we can operate here, because like he was making reference to, an individual can perceive you to operate in this way and do these actions, and then when you don't, they're like, I thought you were going to, because that's what they have been made accustomed to
Right.
with your exposure to them.
Right.
But now being set in another environment, you still got the same two people, but you still got this mindset, this brain operating in this mindset over here, evaluating things from what they've been exposed to.
Right.
And they're thinking they're going to be consistent in the different demographics that you endeavor out into. But our behavior changes environmentally because our brain processes information and stimulus differently. And all these different changes and all these different facets of the brain, they're breathtaking. Because how can you sit down and actually figure all of these things out? Because it's like counting the stars. Can you count them all?
Oh no, ever expanding.
And when we start talking about our thoughts and how we perceive life, behavior, character, all these things are all processed up here. But we don't actually sit down and say, okay, we're going to figure this out, and so that we know how to do this, so that we know how that is supposed to act. And all of those things just seamlessly flow, and that seamless flow is a mystery.
Well, that's a part of this whole machinery, if we will, of the enteric nervous system. That's what they call this.
Enteric. I have to remember
nervous
that name.
system. Okay.
No, this
the
is
enteric
fascinating
nervous
to me.
system. It serves what they might call a lower level function of life. Okay. That's why you don't have to think about breathing. That's why you don't have to think about your stomach churning or this or that. The only time you think about breathing is when it's getting hard and something's wrong.
Right,
I
right.
can't breathe in here. What's going on?
Yeah,
You know, but on normal basis, the body
That's
just,
automatic.
you know,
Does
the
it?
autonomic nervous system.
Right.
Okay, so there's one part of our nervous system that deals with conscious
Okay.
behavior, conscious actions. And there's another part, the parasympathetic, that deals with what we don't think about, but we do all the time. Now, why that is important is in our conscious mind, there are things we do consciously.
Consciously.
And then there are some things we do unconsciously that are well, I won't say there are some things that are
Pre-programmed.
we are pre-programmed. I didn't want to say it that way because
Okay.
it sounds like we have no choice over it, but some of it we have a leaning to. Okay.
Okay.
No, but
We
I
have
don't
a
think we have a
leaning
choice. We
to-
don't have a choice on breathing. We don't have a choice on our organs performing.
Right, but
We
I'm
don't-
talking
we don't-
about the conscious behavior.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Conscious
okay,
behavior,
okay, all right.
I think that conscious behavior, the more we control what is in that realm of conscious behavior and we understand about the unconscious, the more consciously I live my life. How else
Right,
can I say
right,
it?
right.
You live a conscious life,
Right.
and that will kind of cut back on these barriers to transforming in a good way. Like, I'll give you an example. If I need a job,
Okay.
okay, I haven't worked for 2 years, and I've been trying to find a job, okay. If I keep telling myself, boy, I'm never going to find a job. There's no jobs out there for me. I've been out of touch too long. I can't do it. What's going to happen?
You're not going to find
Very
a job.
likely I won't find
not
a
gonna find
job
it. Right.
because I have programmed myself
Absolutely.
and become my own barrier to transformation.
Absolutely.
So it's like, see, I told you, there's no job.
Well, another way to illustrate that is habits. We talk about it takes 21 days to create a new habit, but let's look at the habit. The habit is something that we have habitually done over a period of time. And over that period of time, we've done it so consistently, we do it without even a thought.
Right, right, right.
And all of those things are the things that I refer to when I say, are you believing and living in your own press? Because now you've established your own world through your habits. And you have a world of systematics that you've created through your habits, and you function, and this is all your world. But when do we incorporate the rest of the world and the other elements of the world?
That's a good point, though.
When do we learn, because we're still talking about that not being self-centered and the self-deceptions? Because if our focus is limited just to the exterior of what we're doing and the things that we do for the reasons and purposes that we do it, how are we affecting other people? How are we affecting our families? How are we affecting our relationships? And when we start evaluating, going back to that evaluating process, when we start evaluating, now we can be a little more mindful to what we're doing in our thoughts and how the brain is processing the things and creating the habits, and we can start giving purpose.
Back to that purpose again.
Giving purpose
Well,
to
I
life.
think
Back to
that
that
there's
purpose
another thing that we need to interweave into this.
Okay.
Number one, our brain gives rise to what we do, and as we do it regularly, it becomes habitual.
Okay.
But our habits also change the chemistry of our brain. Okay, so it's like
Are you
almost
talking about
feedback.
physical habits, mental habits? What type of habits?
All of the
all
above.
the above.
Yeah, all
will
of the above.
change.
The chemistry
in
and
the brain.
expression of the genes even in your body.
Oh.
Okay, the epigenetics, that's what they're calling it. We talked about
Yeah.
that a little bit before. Epigenetics, they have found that your DNA is not the total determinant of how your body expresses
Right.
itself. it's really the impact of your habits on your body that tells your even the DNA how to express itself.
Absolutely.
So this is why, and I heard a thing on, I think it was NPR I was listening to, but they said something interesting, and they waved this as a brand new breakthrough in understanding that they said they found that children who sleep at regular hours and are in bed at certain times, they found when they followed those children, it impacted their longevity and how sick they got throughout just from the habit of going to bed at
a certain time.
normal time. Well, I looked at my radio and said, duh. Okay, that's what my mom told me. It's time to go to bed.
Go to
It used
bed.
to be you had a time to go
Yeah,
to bed.
8 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Children didn't stay up to 11 or 12
Not
o'clock.
at all.
And
Not at all.
how can people think that not having an orderly time for eating and bed and drinking, etc., will yield an orderly life? If you have disorderly life habits,
Yes.
it will lead to
A
a
disorderly
disorderly
life.
life.
Absolutely.
And I think that really, really, really is lacking today. They say when I owned a mortgage bank, we used to run all of our ads on Fox then from 1 to 5 in the morning because it was the cheapest rates for advertising. Now it's inverted. To advertise, that's considered prime viewing time. People are up in droves from 1 to 5 in the morning, and advertisers are reflecting that in terms of what you have to pay to advertise. That tells me that there is no obedience to your body, and not only that, children are up too. I don't understand how a child can function. I mean, if you go to Walmart or any of these stores, you're going to see children up with their crazy looking parents or mothers. Or I'm like, what is a 3-year-old doing up at midnight?
The moral fiber and structure of the home, the purpose for living, and all the things that go along with it has demoralized and diminished to where we are right now.
Let me just ask the two of you, respectfully, based upon your years in doing what you do, is this it? I mean, how much further do we have to go for bottom? I mean, because the culture, I mean, at the point I can't even describe people's features because they're so tattooed out.
Right.
And then you look at lifestyles and you are very careful not to say the wrong thing because you don't know. When is this going to bottom? When is, as Dennis said on a previous show, when are they falling off the horse, Dr. Howard?
Well,
When?
I think that the sad answer is both sad and hopeful.
Okay, I'm willing to
Okay.
deal with that.
Okay. The sad answer is we've learned. You learned in math class. We took math, right?
Yes.
And 1 + 1 is 2.
Always.
1 + 1 is 2. And then all of a sudden, I tell you on Thursday, 1 + 1 will be 3.
That's
It's
fine.
a Thursday special. 1 + 1 is 3. We have changed the underpinnings of society. We have told people there is no God. Okay, that's fine. If that's what you want to believe.
If that's what you want to believe.
But then you have come from an ape. That's really where you came from.
If that's your belief system.
That's your belief system. You have evolved from a caveman. Okay. You have your relationships with each other is built on money or however else you can value them. I need a power relationship. That's what we're telling people. How could you expect that they would bring something positive out of telling people basically you came from nothing and you're going to nothing? Then life would have no value nor any permanence. So it doesn't matter what I do to my body, what do I do with myself.
Because I'm out anyway.
Because I'm out anyway, and as soon as I die, that's it.
My
So
bird food.
yeah, that's it. And
Yeah.
and you know, what would you expect? So I
would
think
expect the suicide rates are probably through the
be
roof.
to be higher
Yeah,
and such.
'cause people don't-
So, but the positive part of that may be, and I think it is. The positive part of that can be if education, lifestyle, and shall we say tradition has made this impact, then perhaps better education, a reform in people's lifestyle, and better value systems or traditions will begin to help people make a better transformation. In other words, if we educated them into this mess, very likely
Right.
the process can be reversed somewhat if the power is strong enough to impact
right,
that life
right,
and impact that change.
right.
And that's what we have to do, is show them, hey, there is a power strong enough to help you impact that change. But as long as we keep telling people they came from nothing and they're going to nothing, then nothing matters, right?
Exactly,
Nothing matters.
nothing. It's intuitive.
Right.
Nothing matters.
Right.
Do you feel that's what is happening?
Well, it is, and
I
he
don't
made
think
a
we
he
came
made
from
a
apes.
well, he made a significant point, and I'm gonna add to the significant
Okay.
point, because this is the thing: the re-education aspect is imperative. But I spoke to in a past show that we were dehydrated and malnourished. This generation, they are at that point where they're looking for something. They're hungry. They're looking for something. And we as a people, we're hungry. We're looking for something, because now we've gotten to that mundane point where there's got to be more.
Right.
There's got to be more. There's
Right.
got to be more. And those people that are looking for more, that energy, once we tap into that energy of those individuals that are seeking better, seeking more, and we start that re-educational process, we'll see a shift.
Okay.
We'll see a shift. But
Okay.
the thing about it, it's demoralized and diminished to such a dismal state that we are already tired of being tired. We're
Correct.
already at rock bottom.
Correct.
And now what's happening across the country is we're actually becoming aware of the realization that we're at rock bottom. And now people are starting to look for a way to get back up, and they're understanding that these current systems are failing us miserably.
But I think feeding into that, I mean, I think that's why society has come up with so many fantastic movies and fantastic television
take you
shows.
into another world.
Yeah, so you can escape
Yeah.
the reality
Yeah,
of this
yeah,
world.
yeah.
You know, wow. Hey, is there really
Yeah.
a platform on another planet that I can go when this one is ruined? I can go to that
and I can
planet
flee.
and I can flee. Do you realize there are many people who have paid $300,000 for cryogenics? They will have your head removed when you die, so that when the technology comes to the place, they can just clone the rest of your body. They're paying $300,000 for that.
Yeah.
If you want just less and they save just your DNA, then you pay $100,000.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
That's
But
been
I
the
think
hope
I
for
think
a lot of people.
I believe that this is why we are here today in this studio having this conversation.
Absolutely.
Because to think about something like this 10 years ago would have been just inconceivable. Why? Because we had not reached critical mass where you're looking at so many people. And I'm not kidding you. I'm less and less inclined to do any kind of shopping. And I predict that online grocery shopping is going through the roof because nobody wants the experience of going to shop for food. Why? Because you're inundated with every kind of food, and then you're inundated with people who are doing every kind of thing. So whereas the messed up food is in a can or maybe on display, what do you do when you're in a grocery store and you're dealing with messed up people and their kids?
Well, I had started writing something a few years ago, a project that I didn't finish, but I need to finish it.
Okay.
But it was called The Poor Man's Guide to Health and Nutrition.
Okay.
And the premise was this. The premise was, what if you were back in 1875, okay? There would have been no highway system, no grocery store, no cars, no planes, almost nothing about what we call civilized world these days. So you would have had to walk where you went to. You would have had to
Ride
a horse or plant your garden.
Right.
And everything that was planted would be organic.
Right.
There was no GMO.
No.
There were no spray deodorants. You would have to use herbs and oils. You would have had to. You could have gone and drank water out of the river because it wasn't polluted, because there were no factories that were polluting everything. I said, wow, we're paying all the money, all the extra investment we're making into our world just to live as good as we did in 1875.
Isn't that something?
Right? So
Isn't that
I
something,
think,
though?
yeah, we go back to where gyms were what we did. You know, the gym was, I've got to lift this rock out of the middle of the field so I can plow my field with the horses. And so we have so detached our lives from living.
So what we are going through day to day is a programmed experience.
A culturally programmed experience.
Absolutely.
A culturally
this just makes me go back. I'm serious. I watched all 3 parts of a movie that was very popular, and I watched it again and again, and more recently Avengers. But Matrix, the Matrix, where people that were walking, it was all a huge screensaver with machines actually being in control and using people, keeping them alive, keeping them alive so that they could use their brain power, their brain power, the electrical currents that the brain emanated. And I watched that movie more than once. I have all 3. And because it seems to be so indicative of where we as a society are today. It is impossible, and I shouldn't say that, but I counsel people, don't tell anybody anything about themselves until they self-examine, until they fall off the horse.
Absolutely.
Splat, and shake themselves up. And that falling off the horse, maybe you've been diagnosed with cancer. You've been
I guess I think I'm a little bit more hopeful than that.
Okay.
I mean, I think that if we can educate
in mass
young people, or one at a time, or 2 at a time, or a group at a time, if we get young people or older people who haven't been set in stone yet,
that's a toughie.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing. If we get those people and educate them that there are credible standards to live by.
Right.
That there are credible things to build your life around. There are there exists a purpose for your life that is findable and pursuable, then people won't have to wait till they hit the ground or some major crisis before change is made in their life. Okay, and I think that's a hopeful goal.
That is, I would
And
have
that's,
to.
that's why we're pushing forward to establish shows like this. That's
Yes.
why we're pushing forward to establish
Well, that's why this
ministries
show
and-
is established.
Because the thing is, it's said biblically, our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
Right,
So our whole purpose is just to increase your knowledge base.
right.
Because the thing is, until we as a people understand and recognize that there are other choices, other avenues, other ways we can go, if we don't expose them to another way, they'll continue to formulate themselves to this way, come out from them and be separate. So now we're making that separation.
Right.
And we're coming out of that darkness into a marvelous light. And now we're starting to add the ingredients to the light to make the light brighter. And the brighter we make the light, the greater the education. The greater the education, the brighter the light shines.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because, you know, I handle investments. And one of the products that I handle, and I'm a broker, so I represent a lot of companies, a lot of people are not aware that you can actually put your money, your retirement money, into an account that's guaranteed not to lose any money. Ever. Ever. By contract. The wealthy done it for years, continue to do it.
Is that what Bernie Madoff was running?
No, no, God, no. Always
Okay, you will
something.
never lose money.
No, you will. It's under contract.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Bernie.
but the catch is, no, these are insurance companies. These are big boys. They call them investment contracts, and they put them in writing. Now the negative is you're tied in for 10 years. There's no perfect animal, but again, this has been going on for 30 years. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm still amazed that people don't know about it, and therefore they make life decisions. I'm just using this as a practical illustration. So they say, well, I'm going to put in a CD at a bank, or I'm going to do this, and I'm like, but what if I could tell you this and show you some of the names of the players? And when they see that, they're like, why didn't I know about this? Because nobody educated you. Is that a fair statement?
Right.
And that's the same thing when we're talking about life issues. People don't know what they don't know.
But that
And then they don't know that they don't know it.
Oh,
yeah.
that's scary.
Oh,
Well, I
boy.
think
Whoa,
we
whoa.
should point out here, just by virtue of the conversation, that there are some barriers to transformation.
Well,
If
let's talk
there
about
are
that.
barriers to improving your life. Well, you just mentioned barrier number one, listening to the wrong voices. We have to make this an intentional thing instead of blaming somebody.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
see, I have to take responsibility for the direction that my life was. Now, personally, I can't help that I was born black.
Nope.
I had nothing to do with that.
Nope.
My parents didn't discuss it with me.
Nope. Get your
before,
opinion.
Get my approval or opinion, right? Yet, who I listen to and how I gain the information that I have can not only help me make it through the ordeals that I have to go through, but it also gives me a mindset to how I approach the trials or difficulties or struggles that I may or may have faced.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, like Dennis says all the time, I don't think I have met a single trial that makes me want to blow my head off. I've met a few things that make me want to blow somebody else's head off,
Right.
but not
Right,
my own.
right.
That's a mindset.
Absolutely.
Because if you have hope, you never give up.
Right.
So, but hope is something you're educated in, and you exercise to build it.
Whoa.
Absolutely.
You see?
Absolutely.
Hope is something you're
educated
educated in.
and you exercise to build it.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
I become a hopeful person by okay, if I'm down, if I'm broke, hey, that doesn't have to be the end of everything for me. What can I do? How can I pursue? How can I move forward? Even if I move forward just a little. We talked
Absolutely.
last show
Yes, sir.
about the guy making $750, which is
Right.
abysmal. But if he keeps moving forward and looking around, maybe he finds that job for $12.50. Should he
Absolutely.
live the rest of his life at the $12.50?
Well, we're not necessarily. However,
You see, you move in increments, and hope is built in increments.
I think it's important that for viewers that are watching, just said a profound thing. That's a aha. Life progresses incrementally. There's no such thing as hit the lottery
Right.
in life.
Not in life. And that's why we have day to day.
Right.
God separated in increments of day to day. See, because life is lived in increments, and you have the opportunity to, in some sense, push the reset. If you don't gum up the controls.
Oh, if you don't gum up the controls.
You see, you
Right.
can gum up the controls.
How?
Okay, I'll give you a real good example that's very pertinent to today. Real good example. All the black young men out there, don't go shooting off your mouth to the police because you think you're better than. You could do one wrong thing, or not even do the wrong thing, but put yourself in a bad situation, and you gum up the works. Either you're dead or you're in jail for the rest
life.
of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah, you're
You see?
done.
And you can diffuse that as much as possible by just saying, you know what? I think I'm going to back up from this. Let me see what the best thing to do
Right.
so that I can see tomorrow.
Right.
Because if I can see tomorrow, I won't have to deal with what I'm dealing with right today. You see what I'm saying?
What's your take on
that
that?
evaluative process is significant because that evaluative process is the opposite of that one stagnating, defleeting, demoralizing aspect that causes us to fail across the board. And I label it PRIDE.
Pride.
Exactly. When we establish a lifestyle, a mindset, or a set of character traits that we operate in, that we find success in this dimension, and then we continue to try to make this dimension the dimension.
The dimension.
We refuse to take in additional information. We refuse to admit or acknowledge that there's anything wrong with the system that we have.
Right.
Because we think that we have established perfection inside of what we have because
Right.
it works for me.
Right.
And rebellion comes from pride. Contention comes from pride. Any disagreements and arguments, they all are centered around pride. And pride will take you away from the systematics
Well,
of building a hope.
those
Because it takes you to hopelessness.
Well, I was going to say those two things that you're talking about, really, without mentioning, there's two things that you have to fulfill the vision of a humble life. Okay, you have to have self-control.
Okay.
So self-control is the moral determination to keep choosing better.
Better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's the moral determination. It goes beyond just knowledge. See, I can have knowledge of what's right,
Right.
but not choose it.
Right.
So self-control is the moral determination to choose what is right.
Okay.
But then the other part of it is self-discipline, is the practice, the continual practice of what I have chosen is right.
Right.
Wow. I don't
That-
feel like going to walk today,
But
I know
know
I
I
need
need
to.
to.
Yeah.
Let me get myself out of here
right.
and go
and
walk.
go walk.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay? So you need self-control, which is the moral determination
Right, that
to
moral
choose
compass.
what is right or good or better, or best.
Best. Yes. Yes.
Then you have self-discipline, which is my daily exercise of my choices.
Right.
See, and those are almost dirty words these days for a lot of people because
Absolutely.
we don't teach that as clearly to our children as we should.
Well, what's being taught is that facet of independency, and you don't need anybody else, and what you do is just perfectly fine, and you can do whatever you want because it's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. That creative mindset is a destructive mindset all in itself. Because let's just say that you consume yourself with your thoughts and your processes and your habits and your habitual existence.
Right.
And then you find yourself by yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you try to venture out to incorporate someone else into your system, then nobody ever qualifies because, first of all, nobody's you.
Right.
So now you're trying to hold everybody accountable to this standard that you've established for yourself. You try to hold everybody accountable to what you believe, what you know, what you understand. So then when you try to infuse somebody else in it, then you fail at it, which only makes you gravitate even deeper, which takes you even further away from the moral standard, the moral fiber.
Well, that's
interesting.
is normally what we call making a commitment to something. Usually a commitment is something that you make to a power or an organization or a person outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
That reins in self-control and discipline. See, that commitment is an acknowledgement that there is someone else.
Absolutely.
Commitment is automatically an acknowledgement that there is something outside of me.
Right.
Because if there's nothing outside of me, I have no need to be committed to anything.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. See?
Absolutely.
And that's part of that whole element of independency is to break down the commitment factor.
Right.
And that's why it's significant for us to focus on the reinstitution of the commitment factor, because without a commitment to something greater than yourself,
Right.
you'll always be stuck with yourself.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yucko.
I think
Yucko.
from a personal standpoint, the daily rising, daily bathing, daily eating, this teaches me to be a disciplined person.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to go to bed at 2 a.m. today and 1 a.m. tomorrow and then 9:30. You know, what that does, people don't understand this. We understand everything happens. I mean, there's stuff that happens in each of our lives that pushes things off. But we're talking about regularity. And as that NPR thing said, the regularity, just the regularity of the children's life determined the vitality that child had, as well as the length of life. So
Absolutely.
we're looking beyond.
So the telomeres are activated as a child.
As a child,
That is
and who constantly practices that lifestyle.
Order.
It's not about a medicine. It's not about it's about those basic things. You're feeding yourself as you should. You're drinking. You're doing this. You're keeping your life clean, your body clean, your mind clean.
Yes.
Those are the elements that really healthcare doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. Only a crisis costs an arm and a
Right.
leg.
Absolutely.
You see?
Right.
A crisis will always cost you.
So it's actually crisis care instead of health care.
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's
Yeah, it is.
and I
It
think
is.
for
It
people who have limited means, you want to take them out of the crisis mentality, the crisis mindset, the crisis mode. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Oh, I'll get to it. You see?
Right.
And then
which I find, particularly based on income strata, is the fact that wealthy people take better care of themselves. Now you can say that's situational, but I would say that they certainly have the means. Many times with lower income people, they say, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, and so I won't do it. If it's an issue of medicine versus healthcare, then you know, that's where we are. But I think you bring up an excellent point. And again, you know, where do we go? We haven't even finished the barriers. We only got on one barrier.
Well, we made it through because these are so common sense. We're talking about, you know, basics, and
Right.
then we build on those basics
Right.
and show how those are the roots
Yes, sir.
of the
Right,
thing, and
right.
then you grow out of that eventually. Whatever fruit we have is going to be a product of what we build at the roots.
Right.
So we have, you know, listening to the wrong voices,
Right.
bad information, you know, false information,
False information.
lack of discipline, no real life habits. Okay, discipline is beyond just, oh, what I do. It directs how my DNA exhibits itself.
Right.
Okay, lack of self-control, no moral determination to do good, better. That says no moral determination means I have no hope and I have no vision of what my life is going to be like. It's not a religious thing, but moral power is the value system through which every person builds. It is the sense of hope and vision that every person who accomplishes anything has to have.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a mechanism. No commitment, though, is sporadic elements of doing something will get you sporadic results. Okay, we have to build a practice into our lives that is a commitment to
Yes.
something greater than ourselves.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Do you have any closing remarks? Because our time is up.
Well, I'm excited about where we're going
I am
because
too.
Friday
I
night.
just learned today.
Oh yeah, Friday night we're going to have a chat and we're going to expound on all of these topics and points that we've been talking about today. We're going to carry it on to the radio show. We're going to always be here to bring all of you all a better way of doing things. Stay tuned because this ship is just getting started.
Oh, I'm just so excited about this.
The
I
ship
am.
is just getting started.
Well, time's up, and I want to give phone numbers again. And of course, if you want to give me any kind of response, you can always reach me at mygraves, mygraves @gmail. Be happy to respond to your questions, things that you're not clear about. I'll ferret them out to my my collaborators and see what we come back with. And what's your phone number?
Well, I'm going to give my email this time.
Okay, that's fine.
It's Rick, R-I-C-K, B as in boy, Howard, Howard, at gmail.com.
Okay.
Rick B. Howard at gmail.com.
Okay, and you?
And my website and email is Embrace Kingdom Life. And that's IMBRES, Kingdom Life, at gmail.com.
Okay, and right now we are scheduling once a month to meet
On Fridays.
on Fridays.
Fourth
For
Fridays.
Fourth Friday. What's the
8
address?
o'clock at 5909 Hamilton Avenue in College Hill.
Okay, and that's every fourth Friday?
Every fourth
For an
Friday.
open dialogue to talk to us about these issues?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. I can't say anything more other than I'm so excited about the transition and grateful for the opportunity to be more than, quote, the money lady in your life. I'd like to be viewed as time and recorded history would have it as being a trusted advisor, someone that knew and understood and could bring you the resources so that you can begin to make significant changes, even transformation in your life. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you at another time. God bless you so much.